This is Guy Barker. He's going to be our narrator today. My name is Connie Rufner, and I am the interviewer. Mr. Barker, thank you so much for doing this for us. When were you born?
1923, 88. First, that was a bad day for people. You wouldn't believe it, but the corn was up about 2 inches in the fields. Come that day, that night, Dad called a neighbor to go get the doctor that was riding horses then, and he had to go to Space's Corners to meet him. He said, "I don't." He talked to his dad. He said, "No, I don't want to go." Well, I said, "You're going. Get there." They come back. And the next day, Dad had corn up with about 1.5 inches, and it was all froze.
Oh.
They had to replant it all. That guy said, "You understand why I didn't want to go that last night."
So where were you born at?
At Valley Township near the Grange Hall. I can't remember too much of anything.
What did your dad do? Was he a farmer?
Yeah, he was a farmer, and I was a farmer till about 23. My wife didn't care for it, so we moved to Stanley. But she said he didn't better much. He went to work for an implement dealer.
It was what you knew?
Well, you mean...
The farm equipment?
I set up machinery for probably a year, 2 years, and then the mechanic, they only had one mechanic because tractors is all they sold at that time, and when that time they started to sell trucks and a lot of things. So he needed another man, and he hired one. He went to the truck end of it, and I wanted another man. I guess they just thought they'd stick me in there and see what happens. The guy that left, the regular mechanic, he left, and he said he didn't want to work with anybody else. So he had a tractor down. He took all the bolts and threw them in one bucket, the pieces. That was a nice looking thing. But I'd worked with farm machinery all the time and tractors, and at home I started kind of guessed what it was, right ones and the wrong ones. And I made out all right. The boss kept looking out of the window every once in a while to see if I was still there or not. Made out all right.
So after that was your job then?
What?
After that you were the mechanic?
One of them, yeah. They hired 2 more after, as soon as they could get them. But it takes a little while to get somebody to want to do something like that at that time. It wasn't the highest wages.
Do you remember the Depression?
Yeah, pretty much. When I was, I don't know, about 6 or 7 years old, it seemed to be the worst for us. Dad was starting a dairy business, and of course that takes money to get started. Calves. So I was selling just and the milk. We only had probably 10, 12 cows. Had one calf there, and I liked it, the looks of it. I said, "We'll keep that." And Dad said, "Nope, not going to keep that. We're going to sell it." Couldn't sell it. Nobody would take it, even for $5. Nobody we could find. He said, "I guess that'll make dog feed." We had 3 hunting dogs. A buddy of Dad's had one. He brought it out there to keep, and he kept bringing stuff for them to eat. So my calf didn't make it.
Oh, did you go hunting with the dogs?
Oh yeah, as soon as I was old enough. Dad wouldn't let me. Well, I could go on little hunting trips, but when you went with Dad, you traveled.
What did you hunt?
Rabbit, most of what I hunted. He hunted rabbit in the daytime, coon at night. Hunting season. He was a great hunter. That keeps you alive. Coon hunting, I never cared much for that part. Carbide lights didn't make much light.
Aha. So it was the darkness that you didn't like?
No, mostly I didn't have a light of any kind. I was following shadows. So, since you had a farm, you had enough food? Oh yeah, we had lots of food. I could mind and see what Pinchot, I think, was the governor. They built the road from Space's Corners to Grange Hall, and they put a base of rock in the bottom, broken stone. And everybody had stone fences at that time. they made up that they'd buy them from the people if they'd sell them. So everybody needed money, so they sold the stone fences. They built them right out. Got enough of stone to build to the grain hall, and then they quit. But they come and then they would pick up stone if you had a lot someplace. They'd pick them up for you. We had one field that had some great big rocks in them. Man, the name of Pebbles is the boss. And that seemed funny too, Pebbles and rocks. But he said, Dad, he said, you sell them? Yeah, I'd be glad to get rid of them for the price you're paying, but you'll have to break them up. So they would only work the men who was picking up stone. They'd work them the full hours. The guys that was breaking stone on the road, they'd only work them 5 hours because it was too hot. So one guy, he wanted to work the full hours. He was wanting to build himself up muscles. He worked a few days at that. He said, I don't know about this. That's a pretty good job breaking out one of them stones. But he went ahead and they did find another guy to help him. They got pretty well done. Pebbles said, Dad, one great big rock there. He said, we can't handle that. Dad said, you said you'd take them all out if you caught them. So I said, I know. We can't break that thing up. So it was coming a rainy day and a weekend. Dad said they had to take that rock out. But he said, I know they won't do it. So he got a big long timber and we dug a little hole under the one end of it. That long timber, and we got enough of weight to balance and lift it. They had their tools just lying there in the field. We threw them under the rock. Dad says, I'll give you the timber to lift the rock again if you have to take that one out, though. He said, I don't know. He said, there'll be a couple truckloads in that to get out of here. He went ahead and he took it out, and then he took the rest that they could get a hold of. I don't know why that one field has so many great big rocks. We used it for a pasture field, because you couldn't step from one big rock to the other, but there was still an awful lot of them in there. We pastured the cows at Bull and the pasture field there. Some rocks in that to pick up. One guy had a red truck. He said, I ain't going in there. Get that. He was scared. Dad said he won't bother you, but he said, I'm not taking any chances. He would go in other places and get them. Another thing, fellows was loading stone. And they started this one fence row just after they started to work. Dad looked out, he said, them guys just sitting out there in the rocks, they ain't eating. He said, I'm going out to see what's going on here. He went out and asked him, he said, what's the matter, you guys ain't eating anything? He said, what do you eat? He said, we don't have anything at home for the kids even, just what we can just dig up. Dad said, that can't be. So he come back into the house and got 5-gallon milk can and put milk in it and bummed a couple loaves of bread off Mom and took it out for them. And they ate. 2 of them said, hey, could we get a couple gallons of milk from you? We'll pay you when payday comes. Dad said, yes, I can't trust you that far. That was rough to see.
How old were you then?
Well, I must have been about 8, I suppose. I think I just had started to school. I had to walk 2 miles to school that way the first year. Dad said, you'll have to go over to the neighbors and go down with their daughter to school because it's too far. That's why I went to school the first year. She graduated in 8 years that year. I said, Dad, surely there's the shorter way back over the hill through the woods and across the fields and through the woods. They said, yeah, there is, if you want to go. I said, your brother went that way. I said, I think that'll beat it. It was only about a mile that way.
Was it a hard walk?
The first part was all through fields on the level. Then you got to the top of the hill by the school. We went down through the woods. All but one day. Of course, real bad weather. I'd missed probably some months. But this, Dad said, your tests are coming up. You better be there. Ice snowed and then rain come and froze, crust on top of it. You could walk on it. Not had to watch which way you went. We got to the woods. Dad said, boy, I don't know about this. Because it was down grade. He got to looking at it. He said, you can slide from one tree to another if you watch yourself. So that's the way I got down the hill. In the evening it was melted enough that your foot break through it. Good living. Never really seen what them guys was going through. Nothing to eat and have to work. That's one thing. On the farm, you always had something to eat.
Was it a one-room school?
Yes, 8 grades in one room. Smith School. Maybe you know where that's at, up to the old stone house here.
Mm-hmm.
They had 4 schools in the township. There's 2 of them still standing. People was taking them over for houses now.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 1 sister and 3 brothers living. Those 3 kids died.
Were you the oldest or the youngest or the middleest?
I was the youngest.
You were the youngest. Were there any close in age to you?
And the nearest one was 10 years older than I was, living 1 in between us.
Who did you play with?
Myself. I sled ride, move around over the farm most of the time. There was no neighbors that was as young as I was. Well, there's one, but she was about a mile and a half better away from our place.
So, were you in the war?
No, we were out, clean out in the open, about the middle of the farm, all open. There was hillsides, but it wasn't too bad to farm. We farmed with a tractor whenever we got back, except a couple fields. We had them for pasture fields.
So how did you meet your wife?
How'd I meet her?
Yeah.
Well, first I saw her when I went to high school. She was in the same homeroom as I was, but we never seemed to look at each other much. One Sunday afternoon or evening, like I was in the town, driving down the street, and I thought, I know that girl's walking down the street. I stopped and just talked to her for a while. Here she had just come down from one of her girlfriends. I was up in the town further. We talked for a little bit there, and she said, come on down and meet my parents. I said, well, I'm game enough to do that. I talked to them about an hour. We left and went out, got a little ice cream, and come back. And I said, how about a date Wednesday night? That was Sunday. She studied a while, and she said, yeah. So I started us off. I never broke up then. We lived together for 67 years. That was real good years, but she got that Alzheimer's.
So how many kids did you have?
We had 2.
So you moved into Katanning after the farm?
Yeah, my dad says, who's going to be farming? And I said, I think my brother wants that. I don't know. He was just, well, he worked at Lindier, and they were closing down something at that time. He said, yeah, I'll take the farm. Him and Dad did the farming then. He had a bad time with the farming, though.
What happened?
Oh, farming, and every once in a while an accident happened. He had trouble. A wagon. I don't know what happened. I think the horses turned. At that time he had the horses in the wagon. I think they turned when he was working back on the wagon. They was loading corn shocks. And it upset, threw him off, and they had a fork in there and it stuck in his leg. And another time he was working on something on the cutter bar was dragging for him, and he just raised up in a tractor like this, and it must have hit a bump or something that threw him off. One wheel run over him, come down through past his head, down over his shoulder. But they took him to Pittsburgh, and he come back all right, back to farming again. Doctor said he was awful lucky. One of the doctors in Katanning fixed him up before he went down there so he could be able to get down there. The doctor down there said he'd done a good job of fixing you up, or you wouldn't have been living. And he got in a room with another fellow. The fellow said, looks like you got run over or something. Yeah, that was a tractor. Well, I said, I got worse than you did. I said, what did you get? He said, well, I was in the hospital, or in the home. Saturday afternoon, the paper boy would always gather the paper up. They said to knock the door, and they said, I got the money out, and I started for the door, and I opened the door, and bang! Some guy shot him and took the paper money and left.
Shot him for the paperboy money? Oh.
$2 and some cents.
Oh, my.
He come out living all right, but he said that was an awful surprise. He said, I just opened the door and got shot. Well, he said, I had it in my hand. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I opened the door, I just stuck it up so the paper boy could make time. I said, down I went.
Wow.
You wouldn't think anybody'd do a trick like that. It was just a young fellow. He must have wanted his money quick.
Now, when was that?
I don't mind what year. Do you remember? He hadn't got run over with the tractor. I can't mind just about the time it was. You never think anybody shooting somebody for paper money. And no, that's what he was after because...
No, you wouldn't. Do you remember when the war started?
Yeah, I was working on the farm then, or I'd probably been there.
Do you remember Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
How'd you find out?
I don't know. I think some of the mom or somebody was there and had the radio on. Big announcement then. That's something else I didn't think anybody would try.
Yeah, so nobody was expecting that.
Nope. And I bet you when the thing was all over, the Japs wish that it never happened. Right away, quick, the people's stores took their Japanese stuff off the shelves. Did you ever
One little
hear
girl
that?
told us she had a Japanese tea set, a little toy one, that she hid under her bed because you weren't supposed to have anything Japanese. Do you remember rationing?
Oh, yes. Rationing, gasoline, sugar, all that kind of stuff. They used molasses for sugar. You couldn't get gasoline. We could get some for the farm all the time. But you didn't have enough to waste anything. Go much. I was running around then a little bit follows. And all I wanted to go to Butler to get a hot dog. I said, I don't think we ought to try that because they get caught and lose the gasoline. Of course, they said, oh, you could get enough. Go. No, we just made all right. We just got in the car and started crossing the bridge in Catania, and the cop stopped us. Where are you going? We told him the truth. I told him I was going to Butler. He said, who? What for? I said, I'm going to see a buddy of ours. Yeah? What street's he on? Catania Street. He said, oh, I live in that. He said, what end? I said, not just sure where he's at on it, but I think on the far end of it. Of course, I didn't know what direction the street went. He said, oh, I'm on the way down on the other end of that street. I don't know whether he's just feeding me a line, going along knowing I was lying to him or what. But anyway, he didn't say nothing. He said, go ahead. I think he knew what was going on, but he didn't care.
That was a long drive in those days.
Yeah, there was 4 of us in a coupe car. One guy was laying on the back of the seat, 38 Chevy, a big wide shelf up there. One guy laid up there. We went a lot of places in that 38 Chevy. As the war got over, I still had it. I was married then. I bought that. Well, it was Dad's car, and I bought it off him because he wasn't driving much anymore at all. Another couple, my wife and I wanted to go to Kennywood. We started for Kennywood. The guy said to his wife, he said, yeah, I never knew you was so heavy. She said, well, nothing I can do about it. And he looked up at that shelf. He said, yeah, I think there is. So she rode down and back up on the shelf. Oh, I had the whooping cough when I was a little kid, but that's about the only sickness I ever had. Brother got pneumonia. He's 10 years older, but he was in bad shape.
He got pneumonia from the whooping cough?
No,
Oh.
he got this pneumonia. I had the whooping cough before that. 29 was a bad year for us too. Mom had a goiter and she went to Pittsburgh to get it operated on. Dr. Wyatt, did you know him?
I remember the name.
She said, boy, I don't care for this. He said, you and Mr. Barker get ready and be prepared. Whenever I call you, we'll go. He said, I'll go down with you and stay with the hospital till the operation's over and so forth. He did. He was a real good doctor. He took care of everybody. He lived up on Jefferson Street.
Is he the same doctor who took care of your dad when he was run over by the tractor?
No, that was my brother. No, he had quit doctoring at that time. No, that was, I can't think of that name. No, he lived on Water Street.
So you said 29 was a bad year because
That's when she went down for the goiter operation.
How long was she in the hospital?
Must have been about 2-3 weeks. Dad stayed down there. It was real cold in the wintertime. He said people would be coming up the street selling coal out of a coal bucket for so much money. And he said, I thought that was horrible. He said the homeless had a couple of different places in that street he'd boarded on. He said every evening they'd gather in there. It seemed like hundreds, but there's probably only 50, he said, going in. But rough time for people. Nobody had money to buy the coal.
That's the other side of a story that I've heard before of people picking up coal from the side of the railroad tracks and selling it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's who they sold it to, other people a little bit at a time.
Of course, that went on for a long time. One of the businessmen in Catania used to go and drive in the car, pick the coal up, or a coal truck, would have to adjust his truck, spill something, and he'd stop and pick it up. He said, I got used to that when I was a kid. I can't break myself.
Who took care of you when your mom was sick?
My sister and her husband come and stayed. My oldest brother, he just got married just before that. So they stayed there too, so we had a full house. Before they left, bought me a little tractor, Caterpillar. My sister said, "Dad, you wouldn't even want to eat, you just wanted to play with that thing." I was 6 years old then.
She was in the hospital a long time.
Yeah, it seemed like ever, but I don't know. I think mine stayed there for 3 days before he come home.
Pittsburgh was a long ways away back then.
Yeah, long ways, and then he had a business he had to watch too, but he said, "I'm just shutting the doors for 3 days, for time, whatever time it takes." That's the way he put it.
What kind of business did he run?
He was a doctor.
Oh, the doctor.
He was their doctor.
And he stayed for the whole time.
3 days. Worst patient, could be consequences. He said, "I'm going to stay for till you're ready, I'm sure you're okay." Yeah, the first year of school was kind of rough. I thought that was too far to walk, but...
Well, you were little.
Yeah. Well, I think I was 7 because they didn't let me go the first year. Dad says, "You're too young to go that far." About all the kids started. Then I was about 7. It was long hikes. An awful lot of us was. I was 3, 4 in one family going that first year. I had 2 in another family. They traveled just about as far as as far as I did. They just lived on the next hill.
Where did you go to high school?
Same place, in Katanning.
Uh-huh.
First year I walked that same trail again. So I had 9 years of walking. I caught the bus right by where the school was, and went down one morning. I was standing up there, and Father lived down the street there, and a real nice family. They said, "I looked up there and saw you standing up there." He said, "After a while it's going to get awful cold, and some days it's wet." I said, "No, stop that." So he sent one of his boys up. He said, "It went to high school on the same bus. Tell him to come down here." I went down. He said, "You're walking that far, you'll be wearing boots, and you can't carry boots on the bus or you can't take them to school." He said, "You open this door in this room and set them inside." And he said, "Come out and come in this door over here. That's where we live." So that's where we was there. I'd go every morning, go in there and wait till the bus come. We 2 of us get in. Come home in the evening, and his wife and her mother was running the place. And I went in, and she said, "Do you eat pie?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Here's a piece of pie." Just about every night we went home with pie or cake. That was an awful nice family. He worked for a gas company. He went to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what time he got home. Never really finished the day's work. Go in, he said, I had a big chair there in one corner, about light. He'd talk to you every day. That's one thing. Neighbors seemed to be more neighborly than what they are today. You can't hardly get to know them even.
Yeah, they treated you like family, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Everybody seemed to then at that time. I was going to school. They put up a whole lot of stuff. The family lived. The schoolhouse sit right here on a little bank, and then a little higher bank. Of course, the higher bank belonged to the school to go up on. We'd be up on there, of course, playing, and things would get knocked over in their property, and they'd just come out, look at it, laugh, and go on. We'd set up forts in the wintertime and throw snowballs back and forwards. Of course, some of them would get going a little too far. There was nobody. In fact, in the first year when I was walking, the family moved up from West Virginia. Took the house there, an old house, but wasn't bad. It was a good house, but about first week or second week, I had a well right in front of the door where they put their water. The lady came out and she said, "You fellas lived up on top of the hill, or part of you in one hill and one in the other." And we said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you guys will get thirsty before you leave." And he said, "Oh, no." She said, "I'm not, no. Tin hang on the well, special for kids all to get water." So we all stopped there and get a drink of water and go on home. She was West Virginia. They were a real nice family too. In fact, there's 2 families. Their last name is the same as mine, Barker. And they found that out Said, well, how you doing there, Parker? But he was worked for the gas company and got moved up here. He was a great hunter too. I hunted with him several times whenever I got big enough.
Did they sell the skins?
No,
From
we
the
just
rifles?
hunting.
You just hunted?
Yeah, you sold the deer skins. Yeah, we didn't tan any. Him and I hunted rattlesnake for a while, and he was allowed to up in the mountains.
Where'd you go hunt them?
Back of Corsica, there's a pipeline up there. Well, there's several pipelines, but one was real good. We'd get 4 or 5 every Sunday. We would go up around Sunday afternoon.
What'd you do with them?
Skinned them, cut the rattles off. Had a jar full of rattles. I don't know whether they're still here or not.
Did you ever
Okay.
eat them?
No, and they passed a law you couldn't kill them, only one a year. He got one great big one. We skinned it and got it mounted. We hunted some of the guys ago. One guy, he went with us and hunted the monster. He said, do you know something? We always carried a stick, full of grass and weeds back around, so we think there was one there. He said, you know, I'd pull that grass back and I'd start to laugh. I'm glad there's nothing in there. He didn't seem to like nothing. And we had one place we drove up, or we walked up, but we was up there one day and this guy had a Jeep. He said, I'll go up that old road. We started up. My nephew was with us too. He said, this place is a little steep. He said, you'll have one place up here that you won't see the road in front of you. We still went up. So it was a long hike, but that was always kind of fun hunting on rattlesnakes. Get difference. You had to watch what they could fight back.
So how did you kill them?
Shot them we carried revolvers. So
Did you shoot them in the head?
just mostly that's mostly was next to you. They always seemed to be mad. Only seen one. He was laying on. Well, he saw it laying under a rock, and there's a little ledge. It kind of shot out at him, but he had got it stopped up there. We decided to go fishing up there when he was staying at a fellow's camp. 4 of us was fishing, and the other nephew of mine, he got a joke. He don't tease that fellow, so he watched him fishing. And he got interested. Watching, he took a stick and over there and he tickled him on the leg. He said, I thought he was going to jump in.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for...
We had a lot of fun through life.
You've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your memories with us.
Yeah.